What's up, everyone? We're here on the weekend. That's because the Bucks are back, and they are back on the winners list. Get ready for the parade. I think the Bucks are on their way to a Summer League championship. We did have the debut of MarJon Beauchamp. Mamukelashvili was back out on the floor doing some stuff. Lindell Wigginton had such a good first half that he earned himself a contract. So there's plenty to discuss during this podcast. So let's get started.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Bucks. I'm your host, Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on the show Monday to Friday, occasionally on weekends, on big events like the Las Vegas Summer League. And also find my work over at ESPN. Alongside me is the founder of brewhoop.com. Long-time voice of the podcast and a very committed man to put his hand up to do this late on a Friday night. But this is what we come to expect from Frank over the last 6 years or however long it's been that this podcast has been going. We thank you for making it the first watch or listen, by the way.
This is what you've come to expect of my social life is really what the subtext of that is. But, you know, for 41-year-old dad, right? Friday night, what do I got going on? You know, Summer League, I went out, we got some fajitas. My family ate. I just put my daughter down for the night.
Yeah.
Let's talk some basketball.
What the hell's my excuse then? I'm a 31-year-old man. It's 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon.
It's daytime. It's daytime for you in Australia. That's a good excuse. It's not Saturday night for you, you know? Like, I'm sure you were just getting up to all sorts of no good last night, Friday night for you. But, you know, it's okay. I'm at a different stage of my life, Ken.
As soon as we're done here, you're right. I'm going to go have a shower, put on a shirt, and go straight to the club and be there for 10 hours straight, which is what everyone would expect from me. The Bucks win this game 94-90. And by the way, a little bit hairy in the last minute there. I'd already declared the Boat Championship in the bag. And the next thing I thought they were going to lose in one of the biggest jinxes of all times. But let's start right there. We'll go through some of these players. I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but MarJon Beauchamp was the main event. I think for Bucks fans, they were excited to see him play. And I thought he had some pretty nice moments, really. He had 16 points in the end, hit a few threes, which I don't know. I'm just not used to the Bucks even making shots in Summer League, let alone someone the rookie that comes in with a questionable shot. But what do you think of MarJon? I thought overall, we saw some nice things.
Yes, slow start, very slow start for the Bucks.
Yeah,
slow start for MarJon as well. But you know, I think after the game in the post-game interview, you know, I think he alluded to maybe having a little bit of nerves. Mm-hmm. You know, first sort of NBA game. Obviously, the fact that he played in the G League last year, you know, probably helped. Probably helped his learning curve a little bit, right? Because it's not like he's only played college or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I thought he settled into the game well. And you know, when I watch for summer, like every year, I have to kind of re-ask myself, like, okay, what are we looking for, really, right? What are we doing with this environment and this competition? Like, how much can we really take from it? And I usually think of it in terms of, you know, when I think about prospects, I'm usually trying to think about, okay, what is the baseline of skills this player has, right? That you expect will translate to some degree in the NBA, and you know, what does that mean for their, you know, their maybe not their floor of their NBA potential, but you know, where you kind of expect them to be, how good they can really be, right? Is this a guy that, especially for a team like the Bucks, like, is this a guy that could close a playoff game at some point? Is this a guy that, you know, can be a good regular season player, but maybe becomes, you know, in some series just like, oh, that guy's unplayable, right? I mean, we've obviously seen that a number of times with different players. But I think with him, you know, the baseline for me is kind of the defensive versatility, athleticism, playmaking, which we saw a little bit of that tonight. You know, I think we saw some good moments. Cam Thomas from the Nets, second-year guy, still a young guy, but you know, a guy that likes to take shots, fill it up. You know, he ended up having 31 points tonight, but you know, a couple possessions where MarJon got him and you know, used his length and size. He's a bigger guy than Cam Thomas to, you know, kind of stymie some drives. And you know, I think just he had a big kind of help block at one point. Got in a pass lane for a steal. Certainly, his G League tape last year suggests that, you know, he can be, and at times disruptive defender, and obviously that would be an awesome skill set to bring to the wing in the NBA for the Bucks, to be that kind of guy. So I think we saw again, he looked like that type of guy at times defensively. He also, and maybe this is because Vegas lineups are not usually like quite NBA sized lineups. They're not a lot of Brook Lopez, Giannis starting starting twosomes in the front court in Vegas. So maybe it was just the fact there wasn't quite as much size on the floor, but he looks pretty big. He's not like a physically like large guy in terms of NBA wings go at this point. I think he's listed at 6'6", and I think he measured at 6'6.5", so call it 6'7", right around 200 pounds. But he's put on 25 pounds in the last couple of years since high school, and he's not a small guy. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think he's going to be a guy that small forwards and kind of true wings are going to be overpowering. And again, can Kawhi Leonard push him around, as a rookie? Yeah, Kawhi can probably push him around a little bit. Some of these power wing types, but I don't know that that's gonna. I think he will get to the point where he's gonna be strong enough to really use his frame and defend power wings. And I think one of the interesting questions, which of course we can't get that answered in a summer league game, but one of the interesting questions I have is, over the next couple of years, we've been searching for the PJ Tucker replacement, obviously, and a lot of that really gets to defensively, Giannis at the 5. Do you have another guy you can put at the 4 who physically can hold up defensively, switching potentially on to bigger guys, be switchable and rebound and do kind of those little things that you need to be able to play with those smaller lineups. And so again, don't know if that's going to happen with him, but I think I could definitely see his frame filling out a bit more. And if he gets to 215, 220 over the next couple of years, then I think his physical tool set becomes even more interesting. And obviously that was one of the strengths that he had. And I think offensively, the thing he already showed is, I think he really took to the idea of in the G League saying, what, I'm on a team with a bunch of other guys that were star high school players who want to get shots up. I'm going to be a garbage man. I'm going to run the floor. I'm going to cut. I'm going to crash the offensive glass. We saw him in the fourth quarter get an offensive rebound. I think he generally just has very good instincts around the basket. His finishing last year in the G League around the basket was terrific. And we saw a couple of examples of that tonight where he got to the rim and was able to finish. So, I think offensively, it's kind of just being a complimentary guy. We saw him tonight standing on the weak side a lot, kind of just waiting for the ball. And I'm sure a lot of Bucks fans are probably thinking, hey, can we get our first round pick the ball a little bit more? But, that's what he's going to be doing a lot when he's playing real NBA basketball on this team, is having to be on the weak side, being ready to cut, being ready to spot up, being ready to crash the boards, waiting for a chance to get the ball, if kind of something else on the other side, the primary action breaks down. And so, again, I think we'd like to see him, of course, featured a little bit, but I think he's used to playing as sort of one of those complimentary guys. He's not a foul drawer, right? Last year in the G League, did not get to the foul line much at all, just drew the one foul tonight. But again, the trade-off is he's a good finisher. And of course, the swing skill is the 3-point shooting, right? I mean, I think that's the obvious thing you'd look at and say, well, if he can shoot threes at 35 to 37%, this dude's going to play a lot. Probably this guy's going to probably make a lot of money in the NBA. And tonight hits 3 triples, including a pretty big one late there that helped seal it. And the first one he took off of I think it was a dribble handoff or a pick and roll, and guy went under the screen. He just pulled up and buried one straight away. I mean, he shoots a decent looking ball, right? It's not like he's got an awkward motion or something like that. They can probably work out maybe some of the dip in his shot, but overall 16 points, 50% shooting from the field, pretty good defense, some hustle plays on both ends. I'd say again, not like we're look at this and say like, oh, he's destined to be a star, but kind of did the things that we probably expect him to do, and he even did a couple things that maybe are not so expected in terms of 3-point shooting, which if he gets to the point of doing it consistently at the NBA level, will bode very well for his future.
Yeah, just on the shot, it's interesting because one of the benefits that he would have had playing in the G League, there's probably a number of benefits, but what they do in the G League, they use NBA ball, they use NBA 3-point line, which sometimes, you sometimes see guys and it's like, it looks like, oh my God, this 3-point line is so far away, but he's been playing at that on that court dimensions for a season now, and yeah, it was kind of nice to see him confidently shooting those balls. It's not like sometimes you see the guys that are questionable shooters and they don't want to let it fly. I agree. At times I thought, yeah, he could probably do a little bit more in this offense. We don't need to. But having said that, that's going to be his role with the team. So it also wasn't a bad thing. The other thing that stood out to me is on a couple of rebounding attempts that even ones that he didn't actually get to, he is very athletic. I think it might have even been a foul against him, or the ball just went out of bounds. But his head was at the rim, so he's super athletic.
Was that in the fourth quarter? I think a Mamu missed a shot. And he went up and kind of got way up and tipped it out of bounds or something. But it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was that one. It was bodies flying everywhere. Mamu hit the deck hard, and he looked, I don't know, he looked like he was in trouble. Maybe we can talk about a few of the other guys now after I mentioned True Bill. I've mentioned True Bill before. They've been with us for a while, and it's a new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. One of those subscriptions for me would not be NBA League Pass. I was very thankful that I still had my League Pass subscription to watch this Summer League game. But on average, people save up to $720 per year with True Bill because companies make it hard to cancel. They're not trying to tell you to cancel. They want that automatic payment to go through. So True Bill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and they will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And True Bill Concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. There's over 2 million users that have saved over $100 million. That's almost a Lou Dort 5-year deal of savings. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year.
So if Sam Presti got True Bill, would it just be like, dude, just don't sign Lou Dort?
Well, after 1 year, he might say, "I'm not sure about this." I
like Lou Dort. I like Lou Dort. That number seemed kind of crooked. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he was going to be. They let him go to free agency as a restricted free agent, I believe. So he was, again, restricted. So it was kind of like, okay. I mean, I guess the Thunder don't really have anybody aside from Shea that they're currently spending money on, but
yeah,
it was a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I had a friend who's the Thunder fan who just texted me and said, "Did that man really just get a pay rise from $1.5 million to $87 million?" He's like, "Was anyone else like offering anything in the middle there, or like what happened?"
Yeah,
I don't know. Dort, yeah, they got some cash to spend. So the Bucks.
That's what Luca Vildoza is going to get, right? They waived
so.
Luca Vildoza, and then now they're going to give him 85. No, I don't think they can, because they waived him, so they don't have any. They can't pay him $85 million. Otherwise, surely Luca Vildoza would get that money. We'll talk about him in a minute.
Yeah, well, we can talk about the point guards. Well, let's talk about Mamu first. Actually, he had 17 points in this game. He is a guy that we're expecting is going to take one of those two-way spots. They seem to be somewhat invested in Mamu. The announcers had absolutely no chance of saying his name properly for the entire game, which was a little bit rough stuff. But he finished with 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block. And again, I remember watching him last year, and I think it was game 3 where he finally hit a 3, and we were like, okay, yes, he's finally hit a 3-point shot. Well, he was 4 for 5 tonight. And when you talk about sometimes these weird summer league lineups, Mamu's a 5 in summer league, or he can play that spot pretty comfortably. We know he's got a good nose for the ball. We saw him; he had some decent games last year when he played in the G League, so it wasn't a huge surprise. He did look probably a little more comfortable from the outset than some of these other guys did. But I just thought the Bucks. They got out to an 18-5 deficit. And it just looked absolutely awful. And the game actually changed when they put in a few shooters. And so Mamu was fired up a couple of quick threes. And it's like, okay, I'm not sure if that's the offense Vin Baker was drawing up for this team. But all the guys started to get involved a little bit when they put some more shooting on the floor. Lindell Wingington, I thought, was pretty good as well. But what do you think of Mamu?
Yeah, Mamu's really interesting. I mean, I mean, speaking of the term swing skill, right? I think Eric Name and we talked about it a year ago that the swing skill for him, it's, coming into the league felt like, okay, he wasn't a high percentage 3-point shooter in college. He was much more of like a, honestly, like a offensive focal point creator at Seton Hall. And so it was like, well, you're not going to be able to do that in the NBA. So kind of what do you do? And offensively, it felt like, well, if he can become a solid 3-point shooter, man, that's a huge thing for him. And I mean, give him credit. He shot, again, only 52 attempts last year because he obviously didn't play a ton of minutes, but over 42% from three on almost 5 3-pointers per 36 minutes. So it's not like he took one once every 10 games or something like that. He wasn't afraid to put up threes, 42% on threes, shot 56% on twos, per 36, 7 rebounds, 3 offensive. I thought he was really active, crashing the glass, almost a steal and a block per 36 as well. 82% from the foul line, doesn't get to the line much. But you kind of look at even just some of the advanced numbers. I mean, 62% true shooting. His box plus minus -0.3, which for a rookie is really good. Like you look at it, we're like, man, for the 54th overall pick, like he had a really solid rookie season. Again, only 400 minutes, but he kind of made the most of it. But I think that the reason why none of us are like talk about him as a like exciting young guy or like, oh, what are you going to get out of him, is just I think so much of it was like early in the season, a lot of those minutes were coming having to play center, and like you look at his numbers on court last year, the Bucks were outscored by 18 points per 100 when he was on the floor. The on off, so they were 24 points per 100 worse with him on the floor. So I mean, when we talk about the Bucks missing Brook Lopez, a decent chunk of those minutes were because we had to see Mamu thrown out there, having to play center, and just not being big enough, strong enough, athletic enough to do that. And so ironic, of course, in Vegas, that just by kind of default, he ends up once again playing, a fair bit of center just because of the lack of size out there. But, he knows how to play offensively, and honestly, like even defensively, I mean, I think he's a pretty smart defender. Like, I don't think he's not a guy that just makes like terrible decisions or he has no instincts, something like that. I think the problem is he's just physically, and he's not like super unathletic or super slow, but he's not big and strong enough to play center in the NBA. And, I was looking at his positional splits on cleaning the glass, and they totally make sense. At the 4 position, he played a third of his minutes at the power forward spot based on cleaning the glasses sort of lineup numbers. And the Bucks scored 107.1 points per 100, which is bad. But they only gave up 108.1 points per 100, which is actually very good. So with him at the 4, they actually were pretty damn good defensively, and they were basically -1 points per 100. Not bad, right? For a guy, a second round pick thrown out there, especially given how many of his minutes came when they were kind of dinged up anyway. But then you look at the center minutes, Kane. 2/3 of his minutes, and again, it's only 400 minutes. 2/3 of his minutes. Offensively, 99.8 points per 100, third percentile.
Tough.
That being bad. Defense, 131 points per 100 allowed.
Tough.
0th percentile.
Oh.
And overall -31.4 on-off differential at center. So they just got completely obliterated when he was playing center. And, I said it a year ago that he's like we can hope that given that he on paper has center-like size, that maybe he can steal some minutes there, maybe some small ball configurations. I think he only played about 75 minutes with Giannis, and they actually were like terrible together. So it's not like the numbers I'm saying, it's not like the power forward numbers I just gave you are masked by just Giannis being out there and putting lipstick on the pig or something. he just really does not have I think the physical tool set to play center. I mean, offensively, it should be fine, right? Because can shoot threes and is skilled, right? There's no reason you can't play him offensively at center. I think the numbers there are a little bit weird, but defensively, the numbers are terrible with him at center. And I think it's interesting. I mean, honestly, we were talking about with Eric, like we weren't sure if he was like, was he still on a two-way? Was he a free agent? Like, what were they doing? And I mean, it seems like all of our understanding is that yes, he is still on the two-way contract with the Bucks for a second year. And I think he certainly showed enough as a rookie to deserve a second year, at least as a two-way. And again, there'll be some limitations. You can only play, I think, 50 games. You're not playoff eligible. At this point, I'd say that probably doesn't seem like something that will be an issue for the Bucks. But yeah, I mean, I think again, what we saw from him today, surprisingly comfortable taking kind of difficult turnaround, awkward post up shots, which goes back to being a focal point at Seton Hall. Again, is he going to do that in NBA action? I don't think those are shots you want to take.
I saw a tweet getting shared around saying that Mamu came back looking like Dirk, which I thought maybe going a little too hard.
42% from three last year, so he already was Dirk, I think is the answer. But yeah, I mean, I think what he does have, right, good handle for his size, good passing instincts, no reason he can't be like a good dribble handoff type of guy, and his physical his energy levels, his activities on the glass, I think is generally good. And I think that does, make up somewhat. I mean, he's not just like, again, it's not like he's just like a bad athlete. Like I don't think it's fair to pigeonhole that way because he moves well. I mean, for a 6'10", what is he officially like? Is he officially? I seen different things where he's 6'9" or even 6'11". He's a big guy, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of the universe, he's a tall guy, and he moves very well and he's coordinated. And I think, you just have to hope that maybe another season of getting reps. Again, he's not young for a prospect. He's over 23 now. But as this game went on, I think you saw obviously that yeah, I mean, he's got some comfort and he knows how to play, right? I mean, again, the defensive stuff is probably the thing that will limit ultimately how much he can ever play and probably prevents him from ever being like a top 8 rotation guy anywhere. But there's definitely something there, and hopefully he has a good Vegas, and then hopefully he gets a chance to at least show what he can do, continue to show what he can do with the herd, and then if needed, hopefully he has a better year with the Bucks, but certainly has a good base of skills that we saw last year.
Well, I mentioned Vin Baker was the coach today, which I thought was pretty fun to see. But if you're interested in the Coach of the Year odds for the 2022-23 season, then jump on betonline.net, our sponsors here of the podcast. Who do you think is the favorite to win Coach of the Year next year, Frank, if I had to throw that at you?
Coach of the Year. Ime Udoka?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good guess by you. Jason Kidd, second favorite. Taylor Jenkins, another old friend, is up there. Monty Williams. Where's Mike Budenholzer? 22-1. If you think he can win it again, he's already got it twice, doesn't he? So 3-time winner. Is there? I don't think there's been too many 3-time winners of the.
I mean, what would the Bucks have to do for Bud to win Coach of the Year? They'd have to just go for 70 wins, which we know they're not going to do, right?
80-2. Hey, I tell you what.
Is Will Hardy on the list?
He certainly is.
Rookie coach who has that Boston/Spurs DNA.
Yeah, Will Hardy 35-1. What about Defensive Player of the Year? Now, this is some serious value. If you want to get on Giannis, 12-1. He's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th favorite to win the award. That is quite incredible. And I don't even see Drew Holiday on here either. So just a bit of disrespect from our friends at Bet Online.
I mean, Gobert is, even though he's won it up 3 times already, I feel like Gobert going to Minnesota, like if Minnesota is like a top 5 defense, there's going to be all sort of narrative around like, look at it, like, oh my God, he's turned around this terrible defense, made a team with Karl Towns be able to defend. I feel like that could certainly swing his way. Like Draymond, the way Draymond looked in the playoffs, I was kind of like, I don't know, Draymond's really going to win another DPOI. Who else is on those Bridges?
Well, Bob
Marcus
Williams.
Smart. Nobody should like Marcus Smart's disqualified from ever being Defensive Player of the Year again. It's like, okay.
Yeah, he's 9-1. So you get better odds better value for Giannis than you can Marcus Smart, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me there. Sixth man of the year, Tyler Hero's the
What are we
favorite.
doing
Jordan
here?
Poole, I don't know. Jordan Poole is up there. Kevin Love, 14-1. Bobby Portis, 18-1, if you're interested in a little bit of Bobby Portis action right there. Or if you want some extreme value, 50-1, Patty Mills. So anyway, you can find all the other stuff that you need to find at Bet Online. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. That's Bet Online, where the game starts. Well, we've got an old-fashioned back end of the roster point guard battle on our hands, Frank, between Luca Vildoza and Lindell Wigginton. And both these guys had their moments. Vildoza had a showtime stretch during the third quarter. He actually only picked up 2 assists for this game, but he had a series of really lovely passes. We know that
They were both great assists. They were both like needle threading type assists. So yeah,
he is fun to watch. There's no doubt about that. But Wigginton, as I mentioned earlier, when he came into the game, he actually did look like a guy that, okay, this guy is a high quality summer league player. He was running the offense. He was knocking down the threes. He had 17 points overall. And I joked about it, but the Bucks did release the official statement that they'd signed Lindell Wigginton literally at halftime of this game. So I'm not sure whether the first half was just a tipping point for Horst there. And he sent the text through from courtside. He was in the building. But, just based on where we are, roster construction wise, roster configuration wise, I know we've discussed some stuff. Something happens with George Hill. Is there a room for another sort of, vet, if you want to call these two guys vet, backup point guard? But there really is probably only room for one of them. If someone was going to take a roster spot at all. Yeah, exactly right. So
yeah, I mean, it was interesting. So I was, and man, sometimes I have these moments, perhaps like this. No, I obviously love podcasting, but there are moments where I go down the rabbit hole of Bucks fandom and I'm doing something like reading an article that I use the translate function in my web browser to read about Luca Vildoza's agent explaining why he was released and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of think like, what am I doing with my life, Kane? Is this healthy? But I bottom line, good news, Bucks fans. I went through that so I can deliver some weird and super random roster news. So his agent claimed that, basically, and this a version of this kind of was circulating on Twitter, I think, as well. But basically, there was a line was like, well, bad news is you're getting waived. Good news is they're going to re-sign you on Friday. I don't think we've seen anything announced about that yet, have we?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. But anyway, so apparently they're going to re-sign him. And in the article, the agent explained that it's because the Bucks wanted to sign him to an Exhibit 9 contract, which is basically like a typical summer type contract for like camp type guys. And the key feature of these is that basically if a guy gets hurt, the team doesn't have to guarantee his contract until he can play again, essentially. And I forget the name of the guy. There was a guy, I think he was on the Clippers a few years ago, who was basically like a camp guy. And they had, for reasons I don't recall, not signed him to an Exhibit 9. And then he got hurt and was out for like a few months or something. And they had to guarantee his contract for that entire time. And it was this big issue because they would have just waived him, coming out of camp. So essentially, it's just a financial, safeguard for teams, such that if he tears his Achilles or something this week, then the Bucks don't have to guarantee that contract that he signed last year, which, because it was signed during the season, I guess can't be an Exhibit 9 contract like that, right? Because he signed it at the end of the regular season. So, long story short, and his agent also made some claims, which again I'm reading through a translation, that the Bucks want to keep him this season, blah blah blah. And I was kind of like, like there's some agent optimism sprinkled in here, because look, it's possible the Bucks carry 15 guys right now. They have 14 guaranteed contracts that we've heard about, including Serge and blah blah blah. But Luca, assuming he gets re-signed, Lindell Wigginton, I would assume the same thing. Lindell was a two-way guy last year, had some moments, right? Like his athleticism, explosiveness. We saw it again today. Like he has some game to him. He's never been a really consistent 3-point shooter, but definitely has some physical tools and athleticism. He's Canadian. Everybody loves Canadians. Um, so, so I mean, again, not to belittle or diminish kind of Lindell Wigginton either, but those are not guys that you sign to guaranteed contracts in July. It seems like both of these, assuming Luca also gets signed, would be, hey, we want to have you on the summer league team. We want to have you in camp. Who knows, right? If we make a 2-for-1 trade or something like that, and somebody knocks their socks off, then hey, we're open-minded, right? Think back to Christian Wood, didn't have a contract, played on the Bucks summer league team, was really impressive a few years back. Gets a camp deal, really impresses in camp, and they say, damn, we're gonna keep this guy, right? And obviously took another couple spots before he got his big payday, but that happens at times. So yeah, I think Luca and Wigginton, I mean, I was curious, Vildoza obviously has experience playing in Spain. He's Argentinian, but played in Spain. And he's not that small. And I was kind of curious, like, what was he going to look like defensively? Let's just say I was not. As watching him tonight, I was definitely not thinking like, oh, this guy's going to really hold up against NBA athletes defensively. So, at least the returns from that game, this game were not great. It did hit 1-3, but it was, I think, 1 out of 4. Definitely not. You would definitely not have come away from that game if you didn't know any better, thinking that this guy was going to get an NBA contract. So we'll see. As you said, had a couple really nice passes. We know he's got great passing instincts. I think he had another like crazy pass that I think was not converted for an assist. So hopefully we'll see some more fun stuff from him just during Vegas, and we'll see if he's a guy that comes to camp. Great. But it is weird. I had totally missed this, but I knew he was on the Knicks and got hurt in the 2021 season. I did not realize they paid him $3.5 million that year. They gave him a guaranteed contract. And so, like that kind of like, I was kind of like, that's interesting. Cause I mean, he's an Octagon guy, which is Alex Saratzis, Giannis' agent, like all the same agency. So, there was always this whiff of, okay, this is, agent favors when he got signed at the end of last season, kind of similar to, well, I don't want to compare him to Yorgos Kalaitzakis because nobody thought Yorgos was going to get drafted until the Bucks did. At least Luca has gotten an NBA contract before, so there's some validation there. But I mean, not just an NBA contract, but 3.5 million. And I think you mentioned Hoops Hype had that tweet about him being the only NBA player who's played in the playoffs, but not a regular season game. They also tweeted that he's the highest paid player to never play in a regular season game because he only made $43,000, I think, with the Bucks last year because he got signed on literally like the second to last day, but got paid 3.5 million to play no games the year before with the Knicks. So yeah, probably just more of a kind of summer curiosity in terms of Luca, but I mean, who knows, right? I mean, this is just a chance to kind of see guys play basketball. And again, if one of those guys really impresses and makes you think twice about potentially either keeping them as a last roster spot, which again, if they did keep a 15th guy, I mean, they could keep him as non-guaranteed and then waive him a month into the season if they wanted to. If the guy gets traded eventually, then it doesn't count towards the luxury tax at the end of the year. So again, I'm not going to say that like it's impossible for the Bucks to carry 15 guys into the regular season, that they would never do it for financial reasons. I think they probably won't, but you never know, right? If somebody really again pops from these non-guarantee guys, maybe that happens. And tonight certainly Wigginton was the guy that looked a bit better. And I mean, should we talk about? I mean, we're talking about two ways and kind of fringe guys. AJ Green was probably the other guy who deserves some mention because Lindell Wigginton and AJ Green turned this game around, didn't they, Kane?
Well, they certainly did. I was starting to feel a bit miserable, leaning back on the couch. Our friend Dean Moneyart was turning off the game, and then in capital letters, I just said, "Turn the game back on because the Bucks are in front." And he finished 4 for 8 from 3 in the end. I think he hit his first 4 though. I think that's right, and it was part of this massive run that the Bucks went on. It's interesting. He's got the two-way. I think any of the research that I've done on him is yes, he can shoot the ball. It's like, can he really do anything else? He had a couple of pretty tough turnovers to watch when he had to dribble the ball a little bit
Oh,
and under pressure one late in the game in particular. So yeah, no assists, only a couple of rebounds, but he can shoot the ball as some people like to say, he can shoot the piss out of the ball, Frank, and he certainly did that, and it was fun to watch. And he was actually feeling himself. He was pointing to the crowds. He was, a bit of summer league vibes from AJ Green, which was at least a fun little burst that he had.
yeah. I mean, it's funny. I watched some YouTube stuff on him after the signing got announced. Had no idea who he was, right? I mean,
Yeah,
played at Northern Iowa, was a sharpshooter, handled the ball a lot in that system, being obviously kind of the best player. And so I think I jokingly referred to him as Presbyterian Sam Merrill for this season. So again, like, is he a guy that is ever going to defend in any way close to being an NBA rotation player? Probably not, right? You probably you either have to be so good as a shooter and probably you need to do other stuff. He's 6'4", so it's not like he's a really big guy. You probably need to really be able to handle it too. And I mean, Sam Merrill can shoot the piss out of the ball and can handle it reasonably well too. But we really saw when the ball got in his hands, and some of those games where they were resting basically everybody a couple years ago. Some defenders, like, he just had a hard time bringing the ball even up the floor, right? I mean, it's just the NBA defense can just be challenging. So yeah, I mean, my thought watching AJ Green shoot was his sort of ultimate upside is like a Matt Thomas type career. And people may recall Matt Thomas has kind of bounced around, probably most memorably with the Raptors, has at times gotten some minutes, and he's just basically a flat out shooter. And I think he's either Wisconsin native, or I forget, he went to, I think, one of the small schools in Wisconsin. I should probably look this up, but
should be playing for the Warriors then. He's got a Warriors future.
I know, seriously. Well, he's not. He's I don't think he's a Milwaukee tied person. So you have to be either be from Milwaukee or play to Milwaukee.
I see.
For the Warriors to be interested. So with Looney, Poole, and now Patrick Baldwin. Don't forget Latrell Sprewell, great former Warrior, also from Milwaukee. Shout out to Spree, probably listening to Bucks pods, Locked On Bucks from a boat, drinking a Miller Lite somewhere. But yeah, so we'll see. I mean, is AJ Green on any sort of Bucks contract a year from now? Probably not. But you never know, right? And he definitely feels a lot more. We talked about sort of the dichotomy on draft night of the direction the Bucks have taken. They've sort of swung on offensive upside types in the second round over the last few years, whether it's Mamu, Merrill, or Jordan Nwora. And obviously none of those guys have been able to defend, at close to the level really needed to be, a good NBA player. I'd say AJ Green will probably suffer the same fate. But I guess philosophically, if you can't find an athletic guy, a MarJon Beauchamp, right? I suppose it's okay to go for an AJ Green type. Again, I would always probably go for an athletic guy who hasn't figured out how to shoot yet, over a guy like AJ Green, right? I mean, we saw Justin Lewis, one of our guys that we thought was interesting pre-draft. He ended up getting a two-way with the Bulls. So those guys, you can get those types of guys. So this one seemed a little bit weird to me when I heard it, but again, not having seen him play live until today, it was a pleasant surprise to see him just come out and knock down threes. And he will have to continue doing that at a very high clip if he's ever going to see the floor for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, he might hit a lot of threes for the Herd this season, which will be fun for the locals down in Oshkosh. There, they've always got fun teams.
Nice throw a little Midwestern guy through down at the Herd to sell some tickets.
All right, let's wrap this up. I got a nightclub to get to. Before we do, Rayjon Tucker was wearing a lot of clothes tonight. I noted that in our DM. I don't know. And first of all, I have no right.
You prefer a completely nude Rayjon Tucker is what you're getting at, right?
Well, it was a look that I haven't seen outside of your local basketball league, like baggy shirt underneath, long socks, but then also long tights under what I would describe as pretty long shorts. So there's just a lot of clothing. It actually just didn't seem that comfortable to me.
He's athletic. He's
He
not
had that
like
360. I was so upset that he missed that layup out of nowhere.
yeah, he's athletic. He's got a good physical tool
Yeah.
set. So I don't get what if you're like
Yeah, I
John
see what you're saying.
Henson and you're trying to hide that you're really skinny, fine, wear the t-shirt, right? If you're Luca and you're trying to hide some of the chubs, you need to maybe throw on the a Spanx top or something like that, whatever he's wearing to kind of slim himself down a little bit. I guess. But Rayjon Tucker, I mean Rayjon,
Yeah.
you're an athletic guy. You don't need to be hiding yourself under all those clothes, right? Hopefully there isn't some body image issues for Rayjon Tucker out here.
Get the guns.
But,
Show us the guns.
but yeah, what was it, 3 years ago that he was on the Bucks summer league team after he came out of college? The tweet's out there. I think I dug it up when he signed with the Bucks late last regular season. I referred to him as my spirit animal based on his first summer league appearance because he was really kind of getting after it and plays a ton of aggression. He's athletic. He's pretty fun. And we didn't really see a lot of that today. We saw a couple nice passes from him, a couple kind of flashes on defense. I think he only hit like one shot, like a 1-3, and didn't really do a whole lot else. But yeah, shout out to Rayjon. As you and Justin said the other day, it does not look obviously like he's gonna catch on in Milwaukee and stick around here. But I was happy that he at least had the cup of coffee with the Bucks through the playoffs, and certainly a guy that you could see getting tagged to come in for camp. I think just in general, guys that kind of are at least young enough that at least there's maybe something there, and they know your system, and what they're going to bring from a kind of a camp body perspective. Hopefully he catches on somewhere. If not, maybe he's just a good guy to keep around as another non-roster guy in training camp.
No, he's got some awesome highlights. If you go back through, he's had a few different stops at different places and in the G League as well. So he's a fun player, and yeah, we'll see if he can give us one humongous dunk here in the next few games. Bucks are back at it 7 p.m. Monday night.
Wait a minute. One guy we haven't talked about. What's going on with your man Hugo? I like at first I was like, wait, did he actually play? He played like 7 minutes in the first half, and missed one shot, and that was it. I figured we'd see a fair bit of him. I imagine we will at some point during the Vegas experience, but I was a little bit underwhelmed that we didn't get to see more of our guy Hugo. But I guess that's kind of the problem with having a couple of guards that ultimately that were on your roster last year.
Yeah, I think even in the 7 minutes that he played, particularly I think his first stint was about 5 minutes, and I was sort of really keeping an eye on him to see where he was going to get his touches, and it looked like it was like a typical summer league game where it was just possession after possession, where he was just kind of in the corner, didn't really touch the ball. And I was thinking to myself, next time he gets the ball, he's absolutely putting up a shot. And he sort of had that forced dribble drive and just kind of lost the ball, and then he really didn't get back on the floor at all. So I think, yeah, he's a guy that if he's out there, you would want him to be trying to score or getting some shots. And that was right. He was right in the AJ Green firestorm from the outside. So there just wasn't a lot of shots out there.
He's a plus 13 in 7 minutes. Plus 13 in 7 minutes. A plus minus superstar.
That's right. That's right.
Does all the little things. Does all the little things out there.
Well, if they do decide to trade George Hill, maybe they can slot in Hugo for the plus minus king of the Bucks this season. Hey, check out the Locked On NBA podcast. They'll be covering all the other summer league stuff because there are some guys putting up some pretty big numbers over the last couple of days. I've been trying to have it on in the background and catch a little bit of it, but the Locked On NBA podcast will have you covered. Frank, we don't have to do another weekend pod because we've got a few days off before the Bucks play Monday night, which that seems nice. And just quickly, when the Bucks play the Celtics in summer league, is your desperation for the Bucks to beat the Celtics as high, or you can? I mean, how emotionally invested are you going to be in this game?
I would say not very highly emotionally invested, but okay. I do hope that MarJon in particular continues to look solid, right?
Yes.
I don't think he's the kind of guy, especially even in his role here, that he's gonna get 15 to 18 shots every game. So hopefully he continues to shoot well, play hard, defend a bit, and it'd be great if he could have a game where he popped a little bit. Let's get 1 20-point scoring game, right? That would be nice to get maybe 1 20-point scoring game from him during this Vegas tenure. But hopefully, hopefully we continue to see him play solidly. And my first summer league, Kane, was 2008, Joe Alexander Summer League.
Yeah.
Not the best summer league to go to if you're a Bucks fan. So, my hope is always that, especially with a guy who's like a 24th overall pick, just look pretty good, right? Just look pretty good, right? You remember Dante DiVincenzo with his very shortened summer league stint as a rookie, where did he make a shot? I can't remember. He was like 0 for 7 or 1 for 8 or something like that in really limited minutes. Yeah, let's just avoid that because it's just more fun. The rest of the summer is more fun if we can have some optimism about our first round pick.
Well, it was a solid start for the Bucks, and as always, a solid podcast from Frank and myself. If I am allowed to say that, and this is the only place you come to. It's supposed to be a 30-minute pod, but here we are, 46 minutes in, talking about the Summer League opener. So you can tell that this is two losers that need to get a life, but we won't get a life, which means that we'll do the same after the game on Monday. So we'll wrap it up there. We'll wrap it up there. Frank and myself will speak to you guys next week.